But first of all, we just want to start with that breaking news that just came out of the White House in the last half an hour or so, this time from the First Lady, Melania Trump. She made a surprise on-camera statement to deny unspecified allegations involving her and the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, Mrs. Trump has denied ever having a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein or his accomplice, also convicted Ghislaine Maxwell. And she described the rumours surrounding her relationship with Epstein as defamatory.
Now, in a moment, we'll be speaking to our White House reporter, Bernd Boozman, who was in the room to hear that statement from the First Lady. But first of all, let's listen back to it in full now.
Good afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein's abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins, UK. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you.
So that is the First Lady, Melania Trump, making that statement from the White House just in the last 45 minutes or so. Now, you'll have heard her reference an email that she sent to Ghislaine Maxwell, and we can show you an email that is contained in the so-called Epstein files released by the Department of Justice, which we believe to be the email that Melania Trump is referencing there. You can see that it was sent in October 2002, subject line of hi, and she says, "Dear G," we believe that to reference Ghislaine Maxwell. "How are you? Nice story about J.E., which again we are interpreting as Jeffrey Epstein in the New York magazine. You look great on the picture. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. How is Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you are back in NY. Have a great time. Love, Melania." So we believe that that's the email the First Lady is referencing to when she says that it was just a trivial email, a polite reply to an email she had received from Ms. Maxwell. Now, we don't have that email that she has says she's received from Ms. Maxwell, because obviously that's her own private correspondence at this point in time. But let's go live to the White House now, where we're joined by our White House reporter, Bernd de Boezman, who was there in the room when Melania Trump was making that statement. Bernd, tell us a little bit about what that was like. We had no indication that this is what the First Lady was going to address.
We had no indication whatsoever that this is what the First Lady was going to address. Before the reporters went in the room, there was a lot of speculation about what it might be. People thought, for example, it might be something related to children, which has become a bit of a passion project for her. But this really did come as quite a surprise. And I think the main question that the media will be asking going forward is what prompted this announcement now. That email that you just referenced is very old, more than 2 decades old, and it's not exactly clear what exactly prompted this today. These online rumors that she was referencing and images that often AI generated images, they've been swirling around for quite some time. I think the reporters here at the White House are just a bit flabbergasted that this announcement seems to have come out of nowhere over something that's been happening for quite some time.
And indeed, Bernd, this is already creating a few shockwaves here in DC, because this is a story that President Trump usually does his best to get away from. It's not something that he's comfortable talking about. He has said many times that he didn't have any awareness of what Jeffrey Epstein was up to, and when he did, he dismissed him. He refers to him as a creep repeatedly. He threw him out of his Mar-a-Lago club. So for Melania Trump to bring Jeffrey Epstein and the so-called Epstein files back into the public domain like this, it's quite remarkable.
It is quite remarkable, and I think it represents something of a political problem for the president. As you mentioned, he's kind of been very dismissive of any questions about Epstein, certainly in the last year. There's been no indication of any wrongdoing in any of the files that has been released, and he's actually snapped quite angrily at reporters who have asked him about Epstein. He said, from his perspective, he really had nothing more to say. So for the First Lady of the United States to kind of bring this back into the public consciousness, I imagine will represent something of a challenge for the White House and for the president, who are kind of done their best to get away from the issue, and to a certain respect really had. The issue had kind of died down in recent months, even while there were still bipartisan calls for more to be done to release the information. When Attorney General Pam Bondi lost her job last week, people were also discussing Epstein, but it really was at a much lower level than it had been in the past, and I think this kind of brings it back into the mainstream discussion of the United States.